300 warriors, one narrow pass, an army of 100,000. This is the story of how the Spartans defied impossible odds and changed history forever. Imagine standing shoulder to shoulder with your brothers, knowing you're outnumbered 300 to 1. Imagine marching to your death, not for glory, but to protect your home, your family, and your freedom. This is the story of the Spartans at Thermopylae. Today, we'll uncover the secrets behind one of the most legendary battles in history, the Battle of Thermopylae. How did 300 Spartans hold off an army of 100,000? What made their stand so extraordinary? And why does their story still inspire us today? Let's find out. In this video, we'll uncover the secrets behind the legendary Battle of Thermopylae. Here's what we'll cover step by step. Why Persia invaded Greece, Xerxes' motivations, the Oracle of Delphi's prophecy, and the fractured Greek city-states. The Spartan way of life, the rigorous training, discipline, and culture that made the Spartans the ultimate warriors. The Battle of Thermopylae, the strategies, betrayals, and heroic last stand that defined this epic confrontation. The final stand and betrayal, how Ephialtes' betrayal and Leonidas' decision led to one of history's most iconic last stands. The aftermath and legacy, how the sacrifice of the 300 Spartans inspired Greece to unite and ultimately defeat the Persian Empire. The emotional and symbolic legacy, why this battle remains a timeless symbol of courage, sacrifice, and resistance against tyranny. By the end of this video, you'll understand why the Battle of Thermopylae is remembered as one of the greatest last stands in history. And we want to hear from you. What would you have done in their place? Let us know in the comments below. It's 480 BCE, and the mighty Persian Empire, led by King Xerxes, is on the march. Their goal? To conquer Greece and avenge the humiliating defeat of Xerxes' father Darius at the Battle of Marathon. The Persian Empire was the superpower of the ancient world, stretching from Egypt to India. Xerxes assembled a massive army, estimated between 100,000 and 300,000 soldiers, to invade Greece. To cross into Greece, Xerxes ordered the construction of pontoon bridges across the Hellespont and established supply depots along the Thracian and Macedonian coasts. A storm damaged part of the Persian fleet en route, delaying their progress but not their determination. Xerxes faced logistical challenges in moving such a massive army and fleet, but his ambition to conquer Greece drove him forward. Xerxes' army was so vast that, according to legend, it drank entire rivers dry as it marched. This overwhelming force was meant to intimidate the Greeks into submission. Xerxes sought revenge for his father Darius, who was defeated by the Greeks at the Battle of Marathon in 490 BCE. Beyond revenge, Xerxes aimed to expand the Persian Empire and solidify his legacy as a great conqueror. Xerxes underestimated the resolve of the Greek city-states, believing his overwhelming numbers would ensure an easy victory. Xerxes' ambition to dominate Greece mirrors the struggles we see throughout history, and even today, when powerful forces try to crush smaller, independent nations. The Spartans' resistance reminds us that even the smallest groups can stand up to tyranny. Greece was not a unified nation, but a collection of city-states, often at odds with one another. Athens, fearing Persian domination, pleaded with other city-states to unite against the invasion. Sparta, known for its warrior culture, initially hesitated but eventually joined the resistance. Many Greek city-states hesitated to join the resistance, fearing Persian retaliation. Unity was fragile, and the Greeks faced the challenge of overcoming their internal divisions. If you were a leader of a Greek city-state, would you have risked everything to stand against Persia, or would you have submitted to save your people? Let us know in the comments. Before the battle, the Spartans consulted the Oracle of Delphi, who delivered a chilling prophecy. Either Sparta will fall, or one of its kings must die. This prophecy deeply influenced Leonidas' decision to lead the 300 Spartans to Thermopylae. He accepted his fate, knowing he would not return alive. The prophecy also reinforced the Spartans' belief in duty and sacrifice, as they saw their deaths as necessary to save their homeland. The oracle's prophecy set the tone for the battle. Leonidas and his men marched to Thermopylae, fully aware of their fate, but determined to make their stand count. Imagine being Leonidas, knowing you're leaving your family behind forever. Imagine the weight of that decision, knowing your death is the only way to save your people. What made the Spartans so fearsome? It wasn't just their weapons, it was their way of life. Spartan boys began military training at age 7 in the brutal agoge system, where they were taught discipline, endurance, and combat skills. Only the strongest survived. The phalanx formation, a tightly packed shield wall, was the backbone of Spartan warfare. It required absolute trust and coordination among soldiers. The Spartan way of life was harsh, and only the strongest could endure it. This relentless training created warriors who were unmatched in discipline and courage. Spartan mothers would tell their sons, "Come back with your shield," or "on it." This wasn't just a saying, it was a way of life. To lose your shield in battle was the ultimate disgrace, as it meant abandoning your comrades. Before any battle, Spartans groomed their hair and exercised as part of their funerary and religious beliefs, preparing their bodies for the afterlife. Spartan men shaved their upper lips, but kept their beards long, a unique cultural detail. The Spartans were more than soldiers, they were a living weapon, and at Thermopylae, they would prove why they were the best warriors of their time. These rituals weren't just about appearance, they were about preparing for death. The Spartans knew they wouldn't return but wanted to face their fate with dignity. The Greeks chose Thermopylae, a narrow mountain pass, as their battleground. But why was this location so important? Thermopylae, known as the Hot Gates, was surrounded by cliffs, jagged mountains, and sulfur springs, creating an eerie and ominous battlefield. The narrow pass was only wide enough for a few soldiers to fight side by side, which nullified the Persian numerical advantage. The Greeks also rebuilt the Phocian Wall, an ancient defensive structure, to further fortify their position. Xerxes underestimated the Greeks, believing his overwhelming numbers would easily crush them. He waited 4 days before attacking, confident in his victory. The terrain gave the Greeks a fighting chance, but they still faced impossible odds. Picture the scene: the cliffs rising high above, the sulfuric steam from the hot springs filling the air, and the Spartans standing firm, their shields gleaming in the sunlight. This was no ordinary battlefield, it was a stage for legends. The Persians attacked in waves, confident in their numbers, but what they faced was unlike anything they had ever seen. On the first day, wave after wave of Persian soldiers attacked, but the narrow pass nullified their numerical advantage. The Spartans, with their longer spears and heavier armor, cut down the Persians with ease. Even the immortals, Xerxes' elite fighters, could not break through the Spartan line. Xerxes grew increasingly frustrated as his forces suffered heavy losses, unable to break the Greek defenses. The Spartans held their ground, proving that discipline and strategy could overcome sheer numbers. Imagine the fear in the Persian soldiers' eyes as they charged, only to be met with an impenetrable wall of shields and spears. The Spartans didn't just fight, they dominated. On the third day, the tide of the battle turned, not because of Persian strength, but because of Greek betrayal. A Greek traitor, Ephialtes, revealed a hidden mountain path to Xerxes, allowing the Persians to flank the Greek forces. The immortals marched through the path, overwhelming the 1,000 Phocians guarding it, leaving the Greek position vulnerable. Realizing the battle was lost, Leonidas dismissed most of the Greek forces to save them for future battles. He and his 300 Spartans, 700 Thespians, and a few Thebans stayed behind to make a final stand. The Spartans faced overwhelming odds, but their courage and discipline never wavered, even in the face of certain death. Leonidas and his men fought with unmatched ferocity, using broken weapons and even their bare hands. Their sacrifice would inspire all of Greece to rise against the invaders. Picture the final moments: bloodied and battered Spartans fighting with broken spears and swords. Arrows darkened the sky, but they refused to yield. Their courage is immortal. The Spartans had fallen, but their story was far from over. After Thermopylae, Xerxes marched south and burned Athens, but the city had already been evacuated. The sacrifice of Leonidas and his men inspired the Greek city-states to unite against Persia. The Greek victories at Salamis and Plataea ultimately ended the Persian invasion. The Greeks faced immense challenges in uniting their fractured city-states and defeating the Persian forces. The story of the 300 Spartans became a rallying cry, proving that courage and unity could overcome even the greatest odds. Their story reminds us that courage and sacrifice can inspire change even in the darkest moments. It's a lesson that resonates across the ages, from ancient Greece to modern struggles for freedom. The Battle of Thermopylae was more than just a military engagement. It was a symbol of resistance against tyranny. The courage and sacrifice of the 300 Spartans inspired future generations and changed the course of history. The story of the 300 Spartans reminds us that courage and unity can overcome even the greatest odds. It's a lesson that resonates across the ages. Ask yourself, what would you be willing to sacrifice for your family, freedom, or beliefs? The Spartans gave everything. What about you? What do you think? Could you have stood with Leonidas and his 300 at Thermopylae? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more historical epic stories. And check out our next video on the Battle of Salamis, where the Greeks turned the tide against Persia.